Okay. Afterwards, he rebuilt the outer wall of the city of David west of Gihon. This after he comes back from Babylon. Chronicles, 2 Chronicles 33:14. West of the Gihon spring in the valley, as far as the entrance of the fish gate and encircling the hill of Ophel. He also made it much higher. He stationed military commanders in all the fortified cities of in Judah. He got rid of the foreign gods and removed the image from the temple of the Lord, as well as the altars he had built in the temple hill and in Jerusalem, and he threw them out of the city. Then he restored the altar of the Lord and sacrificed fellowship offerings and thank offerings on it, and told Judah to serve the Lord, the God of Israel. The people, however, continued to sacrifice at the high places, but only to the Lord their God. The other events of Manasseh's reign included his prayer to his God, and his words of the seer spoke to him in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, are written in the annals of the king of Israel. His prayer and how God was moved by his entreaty, as well as his sins and unfaithfulness, and the sites where he built high places and set up Asherah poles and idols before he humbled himself, all are written in the records of the seers. Manasseh rested with his fathers and was buried in his palace, and Amun, his son, succeeded him as king. So, notice Amun is the son of Manasseh. And it goes on to talk about Amun, the king of Judah. I'm going to read that since, I got plenty of time in this video. Amun was 22 years old when he became king and reigned in Jerusalem 2 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, as father Manasseh had done. Amun worshipped and offered sacrifices to the idols Manasseh had made, but unlike his father Manasseh, he did not humble himself before the Lord. Amun increased in his guilt. Amun's officials conspired against him and assassinated him in his palace. Then the people of the land killed all who had plotted against King Amun, and they made Josiah his son king in his place. Josiah reforms. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and walked in the ways of his father David, not turning aside to the right or to the left. In the 8th year of his reign, when he was still young, he began to seek the God of his father David. In his 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem of high places, Asherah poles, carved idols, and images. Under his direction, the altars of the Baals were torn down. He cut to pieces the incense altars that were above them, and smashed the Asherah poles, the idols, and the images. These he broke to pieces and scattered them the graves over those who sacrificed them. He burned the bones of the priests on the altars, and so he purged Judah and Jerusalem in the towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, and Simeon, as far as Naphtali, and in the ruins around them. He tore down the altars and the Asherah poles, and crushed the idols to powder, and cut to pieces all the incense altars throughout Israel. Then he went back to Jerusalem. At the 18th year of Josiah's reign, to purify the land and the temple, he sent Shaphan, son of Azalel, and Maaseiah, ruler of the city, with Joah, son of Joahaz, the recorder, to repair the temple of the Lord his God. They went to Hilkiah the high priest and gave him the money that they had brought into the temple of God, which the Levites, who were the doorkeepers, had collected from the people of Manasseh, Ephraim, and the entire remnant of Israel, and from all the peoples of Judah and Benjamin and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Then they entrusted it to the men appointed to supervise the work on the Lord's temple. These men paid the workers who repaired and restored the temple. They also gave money to the carpenters, builders, to purchase dressed stone and timber for joists and beams for the buildings that the kings of Judah allowed to fall into ruin. The men did the work faithfully over them to direct them with Jahath and Obadiah, Levites descended from Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam descended from Kohath. The Levites, all who were skilled in playing musical instruments, had charge of the laborers and supervised all the workers from job to job. Some of the Levites were secretaries, scribes, and doorkeepers. Goes on, the book of law found. Josiah celebrates the crossover, death of Josiah. Jehoahaz, king of Judah. I think I'll read the last couple, 4 period. Remember, it ends the fall of Jerusalem, and also with Manasseh is beginning kind of, toward the end now. We go to Jehoahaz. We'll start with the death of Josiah. Okay, we got enough time. After all this, when Josiah had set up the temple in order, Necho, the king of Egypt, went up to fight at Carchemish on the Euphrates, and Josiah marched out to meet him in battle. But Necho sent messengers to him, saying, "What quarrel is there between you and me, O king of Judah? It is not you I am attacking at this time, but the house with which I am at war. God has told me to hurry, so stop opposing God who is with me, or he will destroy you. Josiah, however, would not turn away from him, but disguised himself to engage him in battle. He would not listen to what Necho had said at God's command, but went to fight him on the plain of Megiddo. Archers shot King Josiah, and he told his officers, "Take me away, I am badly wounded." So they took him out of the chariot, put him on the other chariot he had brought to Jerusalem, where he died. He had buried in the tombs of his fathers, and all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for him. Jeremiah composed laments for Josiah, and to this day all the men and women singers commemorate Josiah in the laments. These became a tradition in Israel, and all are written in the laments. The other events of Josiah's reign and the acts of devotion, according to what is written in the law of the Lord, all the events from beginning to end are written in the book of Kings in Israel and Judah. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, son of Josiah, and made him king in Jerusalem in place of his father. So, Jehoahaz, king of Judah. Jehoahaz, and 23 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. The king of Egypt dethroned him in Jerusalem and imposed on Judah a levy of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. The king of Egypt made Eliakim, brother of Jehoahaz, king over Judah and Jerusalem, and changed Eliakim's name to Jehoiakim. But Necho took Eliakim's brother Jehoahaz and carried him off to Egypt. So Jehoiakim, king of Judah. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord his God. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, attacked him and bound with bronze shackles to take him to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar also took to Babylon articles from the temple of the Lord and put them in his temple there. The other events of Jehoram's reign, the detestable things he did, and all that was found against him are written in the book of Kings of Israel and Judah. And Jehoiachin, his son, succeeded him as king. How much time do I have? Okay. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months and 10 days. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and in the spring King Nebuchadnezzar sent for him and brought him to Babylon together with articles of value from the temple of the Lord. And he made Jehoiachin's uncle Zedekiah king of Jerusalem and Judah. Well, Judah meant Jerusalem. The other way around now. Zedekiah, king of Judah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, his God, and did not humble himself before Jeremiah the prophet, who spoke word of the Lord. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him take an oath in God's name. He became stiff-necked and hardened his heart, and would not return to the Lord, the God of Israel. Therefore all the leaders of the priests and people became more and more unfaithful, following all the detestable practices of the nation and defiling the temple of the Lord, which he concentrated in Jerusalem. The fall of Jerusalem. The Lord, the God of their fathers, sent word to them through his messengers again and again, because he had pity on his people, on his dwelling place. But they mocked God's messengers, despised his words, and scoffed at his prophets, until the wrath of the Lord was aroused against his people, and there was no remedy. He brought up against them the king of the Babylonians, who killed their young men with a sword in the sanctuary, and spared neither young man nor woman, old man or age. God handed all of them to Nebuchadnezzar. He carried to Babylon all the articles from the temple of God, before both large and small, the treasures of the Lord's temple and the treasures of the king and his officials. They set fire to God's temple and broke down the walls of Jerusalem. They burned all the palaces and destroyed everything of value there. He carried into exile to Babylon the remnant who escaped from the sword, and they became servants to him, and they were sons until the kingdom of Persia came to power. So what are we talking about here? Okay, the Babylonian exile. 586 BCE. So at this point in Chronicles, we talking about 586 BC, and I'm going to end it from 21 to 23. The land enjoyed the Sabbath rest all the time of its The land enjoyed its Sabbath rest all the time of its desolation. Its rest. Until the 70 years were completed in fulfillment of the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah. In the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, to make a proclamation against his realm and to put it in writing. This is what Cyrus, king of Persia, says, "The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of earth and has appointed me to build the temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. Any one of his people among you, may the Lord God be with him, and let him go up." So Cyrus co-signed with him, and we go into Ezra. And the reason why I brought these up is I wanted to draw parallels between psychiatry. I told you about Baal. I'd get into Baal later. I told you that in my first video, Illuminati Part 1. Well, there's some more about Baal. You know, Manasseh and his son destroying the poles to Baal. And you had some of the kings of Judah persecuted for and punished for not listening to Jeremiah. Okay? And, you know, they have the names I don't want to slaughter anymore. And also you have the destruction of the temple. And the Persians helping them rebuild the temple after the Babylonians destroyed it. So the Jews were able to infiltrate the Persian government is one way to look at it. Thank you.